Good day. Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be discussing adding integers on the number line. So what is a number line, right? The number line is basically a line which holds a mixture of negative and positive numbers, otherwise known as integers. So therefore, integers is a mixture of negative and positive numbers. So on the left side of the number line, you realize that it has negative numbers, right? And negative numbers are less than 0. While on the right side of the number line, you have positive numbers, which are greater than 0. So with negative numbers, right, you normally think that 0 is the smallest number, but no, it's actually negative number. And the further you go on the left side of the number line, the smaller it gets. So um negative 1 is less than 0, negative 2 is less than negative 1, negative 3 is less than negative 2, negative 4 is less than negative 3, and negative 5 is less than negative 4. And note that numbers are infinite, so the line does not only stop at negative 5. You have negative 6, negative 7, etc. On the positive side, now, the further you go, the larger the number gets. So we know 1 is greater than 0, 2 is greater than 1, 3 is greater than 2, 4 is greater than 3, 5 is greater than 4. And as I said, numbers are infinite, so you have the number line doesn't only stop at positive 5, you have positive 6, 7, 8, etc. Right? So now, how do you tell the difference between a negative and positive numbers? Negative numbers normally have a minus sign in front of it. Example, negative 3, negative 10, negative 15, negative 13. Well, positive numbers, right, they do not have a minus sign in front of it. It looks like how you'd see regular numbers, right? So just like how you see here on the number line with positive 1, 2, 3, and such, right? Sometimes you'll see them with a plus before them, like plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. But just know that positive numbers, right, they don't have a minus sign in front of them. So let's get to adding numbers on the number line, right? Yes. So let's say you had negative 2 plus 3, right? Let's say if it was negative 2 plus 3. So now the rule states when a positive number is being added to a negative number, you move to the right of the number line, right? So now if you realize positive 3 is being added to negative 2. So our starting point would be negative 2, right? It's always a number on the left, right? So negative 2 is our starting point, and positive 2 is being added to it. So now we're going to start at negative 2 and move 3 spaces to the right, right? So the number on the right also tells you how many spaces to move to the right. So now, being that positive 3 is being added to negative 2, we're going to move 3 spaces to the right on the number line. So it would be 1 space, 2 space, 3 space. And what did we land on? Positive 1. So therefore, negative 2 plus 3 gives you positive 1. And another way to reason this out without the number line is that right? Let's say, for example, you owe somebody $2, right? And you pay them and you have $3 on you, and you pay them the $2. How much money will you have left, right? That will simply be $1, because the negative, right? Negative would mean that you owe somebody, and positive would mean what you have, right? So in this scenario, right, you have $3, but you owe somebody $2. You pay them the $2, so therefore you have $1 left. So that's it for that example. Okay, so in this example, it is negative 5 plus 3. And again, it is a positive number being added to a negative number because positive 3 is being added to negative 5. So our starting point will be at negative 5, so we should move 3 spaces to the right. So it'd be 1 space, 2 space, 3 space. And what did we land on? Negative 2. Therefore, negative 5 plus 3 will give us negative 2, right? And we can use back the have and owe method because as we say, negative means what you owe, positive numbers mean what you have, right? So let's say for example, you owe somebody $5, but you pay them $3, right? You will still owe them $2 in the end. So therefore, you owe them $2 in the end. So the answer would be negative 2. Okay, so this example says 5 plus negative 3. So in this case, a negative number is being added to a positive number, right? And when a negative number is being added to a positive number, you would move to the left, right? Because remember, when earlier stated that when a positive number is being added to a negative number, we move to the right. We do the opposite when a negative number is being added to a positive number, we'd move to the left, right? So our starting point would be at positive 5. So we're adding negative 3 to it. So we need to move 3 spaces to the left. So that would be 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces. So therefore, we land on 2. So our answer will be positive 2. So now let's proceed. So let me point on something, right? If you realize you have a plus and a minus sign in the middle. So when you have a plus and a minus sign, right? We need to get one sign in the middle. I'm speaking of without using the number line, right? We cannot have both a plus and a minus sign in the middle. We need to get it down to 1 if we're adding without the number line, right? So 5 plus negative 3, so the rule says when a plus sign is being followed by a minus sign, right? Then it actually becomes a minus. So it would be 5 minus 3, and that will leave you with 2. So you see, it's actually the same thing which has been done here. Because we still had the 5 plus negative 3 and we add on the number line, right? We get 2 when we move 3 spaces to the left. So therefore, what actually happened was that when the plus sign followed the minus sign, it actually became the minus. So it was 5 minus 3, which gave you 2. So let's go to another example. So this one says 4 plus negative 5. So in this case, again, a negative number is being added to a positive number because negative 5 is being added to positive 4, right? So our starting point will be positive 4. And we need to move 5 spaces to the left. So it would be 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, and 5 space. So therefore, we land on negative 1. So our answer is 4 plus negative 5 will leave us with negative 1, right? Yes, let me just use a red highlighter for this. So the answer is negative 1. So this example is negative 1 plus negative 3. So if you realize a negative number is being added to a negative number, so negative 3, so it's negative 1 plus negative 3, negative 3 is being added to negative 1, right? So when a negative number is being added to a negative number, you will still move to the left, right? So our starting point will be -1, right? And we need to move 3 spaces to the left. So 1, 2, 3. So we land on -4. So -1 plus -3 leaves us with -4. So to further explain this, right? This is like saying that you owe somebody $1, right? But you borrowed $3 more. So therefore, you'd owe them a total of $4. And in case you're wondering why we didn't move over to the positive side, that is simply because you're adding a negative number to a negative number. Because, like, let's say, for example, if we're adding positive numbers, right? Let me do an example. What if it was simply positive 1 plus 3, right? Let's say if it was simply 1 plus 3. You could say after but it is positive 4, right? So look, if you are to add on the positive side of the number line, right? Positive 3 is being added to positive 1. So you know you start at positive 1, right? And you move 3 spaces to the right. So you land on 4. You wouldn't move to the negative side, right? Because you have no reason to, because you're simply just adding positive number. So it would be the same case scenario with -1 plus -3. Because you're adding negative numbers solely, you have no reason to go over to the positive side, right? So when a positive number is being added to a positive number, right? If you realize the value increase because you're adding 1 to 3 and you get +4. Whereas also that's the same scenario with the numbers on the negative side. So let's proceed with another example. All right, so let's say you had -2 plus -3, right? As we stated that our starting point would be at -2 because let's go back. A negative number is being added to a negative number. So -3 is being added to -2, right? So our starting point would be -2, and we need to move 3 spaces to the left. So that would be 1 space, 2 space, 3 space. So therefore, -2 plus -3 will result in -5, right? And let me touch on something else, right? Remember when we say when you have a plus and a minus sign in the middle, it become a minus? Same thing. So if you get, let's say for example, you're in class and you get an example of -2 minus 3, right? It would still be -5, as if you see, because it's basically still being added on the number line. Because with the plus and the minus results in the minus, so it's basically the same. It's the same thing. And also, you can reason it out generally and say that, let's say you have let's say you owe somebody $2 and you took $3 more from them. You totally owe them $5. $5. So now, before we close the video, I want to touch into another rule, right? So we're just speaking of when a plus sign is being followed, when a plus sign is being followed by a minus sign, it becomes a minus, right? Well, what if you had two minus sign? It automatically becomes a plus. So let's say for example you had let's say you had two let's say you had 2 minus negative 2 minus -3, right? 2 minus in the middle, right? It will become a plus, right? So it will become 2 plus 3. So let me write it with the black marker. So it become 2 plus 3, and that will give you +5, right? So when you have 2 minus and in the middle, just know that it automatically becomes a plus. Just like when you have a plus sign being followed by a minus sign, it becomes a minus. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something new. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.